And as you can see on the screen, we run every Sunday for the summer, and it's always at the same time. It's at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's no registration or fees. Ariana and I co-host, and we alternate on who's leading the workshop each week. And today we're going to be reading work from Giselle Buchanan and Sonia Guignan-Saka to lead us into our exercise. Yeah. So let's see. Do you have anything else to add, Ariana?
Sure. I just wanted to talk about technology really quickly. So we are being broadcast, I believe, on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and Instagram Live as well. And so you can comment on any of those platforms if you have any questions that come up during the workshop or things you would like us to know. And we will do our best to incorporate them into the flow of things and try to make this feel as much as possible like an in-person workshop, even though we are all in separate places. We will see immediately the comments that come up on the YouTube Live, but feel free to comment on the other platforms as well. And the folks that are working at the Achuchas will let us know when those comments come in. So we'll get to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, Alan is going to be the lead facilitator of this workshop today. So just make sure you have something to write with and something to write on. And I believe there is a Google Doc that Alan would like for everyone to follow along with. You don't have to, I don't think. Wait, is that true, Alan? Do they?
Yeah, they don't have to.
Okay. But if you want to, and that's helpful for you, you can find a link to the Google Doc right below the YouTube video on YouTube Live. It's right in the description box. Is there anywhere else they can access that, Alan?
Yes, I'm about to drop it in. Oh, could you drop it in the live comments? I just sent it to you on the private chat.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, so this workshop is kind of going to just think through how did we learn shame as a community, and how can we move past shame or outside of shame, or with and through the shame we currently experience, to imagine triumph and celebrate our lives. And the first thing that we're going to do is we want to share a poem from Love Letter to Self, which is right here. It's a chapbook by Buchanan. It's multimedia, so it's poems and visual art, primarily watercolors. So I just want to show you what it looks like. Well, photographs and watercolors. Yeah. And if you are on the Google Doc, there's a link for you to scoop one if you want one. But we're going to be actually projecting the poem here for you to follow along with us. And I think Ariana is going to read the first poem that we want to share.
I really love this poem, Alan. It's so, it's so powerful, and I feel like it invokes so many images. I was like practicing reading it aloud before we got on, and kind of gave myself chills just from Giselle's words. So I'm really excited to share. Okay. Okay, can you hear me okay right now? Cool. All right. Oh, did you want to be able to project the image?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, let me pull it up on my screen. Okay, so this is She Who Summons What She Wants by Giselle Buchanan. How long have you bowed your head, worshipped what was not enough? For which God do you build your altar? Is there a valley you see yourself running through? What is the soul? How long have you searched for a light you already claim? What is the thing that closes the throat, bends the spine forward? When will you become the woman you are, the one like lightning in the room? She who summons what she wants. You want to hug your mother, cover her body in precious jewels, weave textiles in your garden, scatter hibiscus throughout your tightly wombed curls. You long for mango, for turquoise water, for curry peppering the air come noon. You wish for avocado, for a fist to lace your fingers through, for a man who declares every ground you stand on holy. What is it about the slick of summer that stirs the already restless spirit? When will you let the desert sun kiss your skin a honeyed bronze? Why are you afraid to go where you've never been? Do you believe there isn't space enough for this universe to cradle you? Don't you know the world is waiting? There's a field of tulips in Holland, their bulbs open to cup your blessed sweat. There is a mountain on every continent to watch the sun rise upon. Wax your legs with lemon and honey. Let it simmer on the pot until it forms a sweet paste. Look at your naked body. Do not turn your face away. Let sage form thick ropes of smoke around your exposed skin. What is peace? How do you find it? You are a festival of light. Put flame to your candles.
Wow. Ooh. I feel like even though we developed the workshop, I'm still in awe of Giselle's writing.
Yeah, yeah. Even my second time hearing it, it's such a force. I feel it like moving, as I'm hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is the part where we can begin to ask for audience participation. One of the first things that we want y'all to do is answer some of the questions that Giselle puts forward. The first line of the poem is, how long have you bowed your head? And we want you to, like, if you're writing on paper or on your cell phone or on your computer or whatever, to just answer that first question. How long have you bowed your head? And think in years. So you can think about it in any way. For example, if you were taught to bow your head when somebody was screaming at you, right? Like, how many years have you been doing that for? If you were taught to bow your head when you witnessed an oppression that maybe doesn't apply to you, how long have you been bowing your head when you witness that instead of speaking up? So please just take a minute to think about the years and just write down those years. Either send us to us on the comments or just do it on your own. Okay, so hopefully folk have put down a number of years that you've been bowing your head for, and just reflect on that throughout the rest of the workshop. And now the second question we want to ask you is, what is peace? So Giselle kind of asks that towards the end of the piece. Think of one word for you. What is peace? Just one word, whether it be a noun or a verb? What is peace? Ariana, would you like to share what is peace for you?
You know, it's so hard to put in just one word. Like, I feel like that's the challenging part here. Because I feel like that almost feels like a poem prompt for me. Just all the things that peace can be. So maybe I should think about it as like peace in this moment. Um,
Mhm.
and I think for me right now, um, I want to say love, but then I want to like as the one word response, but I also want to like modify that to be like um uh love, like an intentional love from someone I trust. So that's not exactly one word, but it feels important to be specific with that, you know?
Okay, yeah, so 6 words. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Instructions don't fully apply.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so love from someone that you trust is peace. I think that in this moment, for me, peace is sleep. I don't think that I've been sleeping at all, and I mean, yeah, and I think it does connect to shame. This idea of like you always have to be working, even in a pandemic. Okay, so now that you all have how long you have bowed your head and what peace is for you, the next exercise is actually 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is actually a pretty solid amount of time to write. Don't be afraid of writing. Like, nobody is looking over your shoulder. You're not forced to participate. At some point, if you want to participate, you can by sending us your thoughts in the comments. But for now, I want to ask you, how do you find peace? And what are the forces you have to fight against to get that peace? So for me, I'm going to be writing about sleep and what the forces I have to fight are in order for me to get sleep. And Ariana, for you, it's what are the forces you have to fight against in order to be held or loved by someone you trust? So this is a pretty deep question, and it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a timer for 5 minutes, and I'm going to put some music for you. And in those, when the 5 minutes are up, we're gonna come back and have a brief share backslash conversation. Oh, people are commenting! Yay! So Karina has said safety. A bunch of tiny deer says peace is an embrace. Yvonne says tranquility. Thank you. Okay, so think about that for the prompt. I'm about to put some music for you.
Okay. Oh, so we have written for 5 minutes. Ariana, how was that for you?
It felt so short. I wanted to keep going. But I feel like the lead up, the way you've set up everything so far with the prompts, I felt very focused. So I felt like as soon as you were like, okay, time to write, it just kind of started pouring out, and I didn't really have a moment to like think about what I was writing. It just sort of like flew, like yeah, it just like came out of me. Yeah, yeah, that's how it was.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't think that I would necessarily write, but I also wrote a little bit. And I'm wondering if anybody that's watching, if you want to send in a comment about what that writing for 5 minutes felt like for you, or what you actually wrote. If you're in front of a computer and you want to copy and paste maybe a line or 2 lines, whatever you're comfortable with. Let's see if anyone says anything.
I can share what I wrote as well too while we're waiting for folks to pop in.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, please do it.
Okay. Okay. So how do you find peace? I wrote being open and intentional myself, laying a boundary when I need to, pulling it up when it needs to be gone. I fight my hauntings, the love I couldn't get back. I needed someone to be gentle with me. They weren't. Do you find peace or do you make it? I'm not sure I know forgive, only forward. Someone I loved comes to me in a dream and is still cruel. A joke recalls a memory and I drop the butter knife with a sharp thud. I cannot go around. I must go through.
Wow, Ariana, thank you for sharing that. The line that you says, you find peace in a dream from someone with someone who is still cruel. Can you read that one more time? That one line.
Um, where is it? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know forgive, only forward. Someone I loved comes to me in a dream and is still cruel.
Okay, someone I love comes to me in a dream and is still cruel. Wow, I mean, it's that idea of when you ask, do you find it, do you find peace or do you make it, right? It's even in moments where you think you're finding it, because one, the body is still not in full authority. We never know how long that peace will last, or if that peace is safe or real or a peace that knows how to hold us. Thank you. And I think that's similar to what Giselle says in that poem. Yeah, in that end, it's do not turn your face away. Almost like an instruction, but also a warning, right? Do not turn your face away because if you do, you might not find peace. But then again, do not turn your face away because if you find peace and that peace doesn't know how to hold you, how do you hold yourself? How do you summon something else, another resource, another framework of peace or love? Thank you so much. And Leslie says, so amazing. Oh, Lisa added in part of what they wrote. Do you want to read it out loud, Ariana?
Sure. Lisa says, I have to part the tension. I imagine my thumbs reaching into my tension, soothing it until it falls to the side. And my peace is embodied in the open space, a rolling ribbon without edges. What a beautiful way to put that. And so tender too, right? To have, yeah, like the body taking care of itself.
Mm-hmm. It also reminds me of parting the hair, right? This thing that I feel a lot of us do regularly, and we forget how important it is as part of a ceremony, as part of a ritual. And then right here in Lisa's work, I have to part the tension. That is also a ritual in which to address um, exactly like a body response to the demons we're fighting in order to find that peace. Thank you, Lisa.
And also with that too, like when you're parting the hair, you have to do it softly. Otherwise the hair could break, you know? So there has to be not just the motion, but tenderness in the motion. That intentionality is also important there.
Mm-hmm. The tenderness, the amount of time it takes, what you add to it, right? So when you're addressing this tension, the thumbs reaching into the tension, it's like how much pressure, what are you thinking about? Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Oof, I'm getting so excited and juiced up. So for the second portion, I'm going to read a poem from Sonia Guiñanzaca's chapbook, which is right here. It's titled Nostalgia in Borders. And if you're on the Google Doc, there's a link to get it. But if you're not on the Google Doc, both Giselle's social media handle is on the projection, and so is Sonia's. So I'm about to read this piece. And you can follow along if necessary. This is the last poem in Nostalgia in Borders. Glory. Mi mamá se levanta a las 7 de la mañana, se baña, sus pies bendecidos en agua, es divina. Después empieza con su maquillaje, her brown hands gently holding the black eyeliner. For a migrant woman, these are lines she welcomes. She places her dark brown hair in a bun, carefully placing bobby pins, like carefully placing lipstick, like carefully placing hope on land. Mommy's knowledge teaches me that my wings are meant to be thick, meant to take up space. These are rituals I grew up with. So I repeat, every morning creating self into existence, between lipstick and softness, between borders and belonging. These are ways I survive. So I repeat, arching my eyebrows, jewelry over my neck, red nails pointy enough to hold homes. Homes I am building, homes I left. So I repeat, adorning all my genders, like the gospel never sung at my church. This becomes biblical. Let this be an ode to femmes of color, whose celestial eyeshadows crack the heavens, whose thick thighs resurrect possibilities. So I repeat, what glory we incite, what glory we create, what glory we are. So, oh, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So what we want to ask you to do for the next 30 seconds is to name someone who has modeled triumph or glory for you. Because in this poem, Sonia's mother is modeling glory for them. Ariana, do you want to talk about the ways you see Sonia's mother teaching glory or modeling glory?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think about Sonia describing just like their mother's daily rituals, you know, and they're not even like I don't know, they're very small things, but they're things that are attending to the body and attending to the self. And they're also an act of care, I think. And when they are part of a daily ritual, right, a part of a daily schedule, that's also part of what makes it a ceremony, that there are rules for how it's supposed to go, and that you expect to do these things at a certain time, and that you might know how you might feel while you're doing those things. And yeah, and they're also, I think, a way of just honoring the self, particularly for someone who lives somewhere where they are devalued, right? Where the self is devalued, where the self is not viewed as important or as a thing worthy of adornment or adoration or honor. To bestow that upon the self, I think is really powerful. And then especially to be modeling that for someone you love, you know?
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, I mean, I love that you used the word adoration. Because it is, right? The lipstick, the red nails pointing, the arching eyebrows, the jewelry. And for some context, this chapbook is about growing up undocumented in the US. Um, and I just think about for Sonia's mother to be deemed, and I put it in quotes, illegal alien by the law. And at the same time as that is happening, Sonia's mother is um, literally dressing herself and saying, "Oh yeah, you think I'm an illegal alien? Look at how magnificent, how glorious I am." To be able to undo the law at the level of makeup, at the level of uh, ceremony. Um, so we ask you, who modeled triumph, glory for you, and what was their triumph or glory? So take maybe 1 minute to answer that question, and then you can put it in the chat and we can talk about it.
That's a big question, Alan.
I mean, who is one word, right? And then what was their triumph? So like if I was Sonia right now, I would say mom, and triumph, makeup. But like I said, we're in a global pandemic. Rules are not important right now. Ariana, have you figured out your two answers?
Yes, and they're not one word.
I love it.
I'm still writing it actually. Okay. Should I say my answers to this question?
Yeah, up to you. Whatever you want to share.
Okay, sure. So someone who modeled triumph or glory for you. Her name is Ebony Stewart. She's a poet and a good friend of mine. And her triumph or glory is that I feel like Ebony is one of the first people who showed me how to be loud and intentional about celebrating the self in public and inviting other people who love you to witness. Because when you do that, you also give them permission to celebrate themselves in public in a loud and intentional way. And yeah, I think that's really important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a similar answer, obviously different person. I'm also going to share, but while I share, I invite all of you to drop it in the comments. For mine, I put Melissa Gomez. It's literally the first person I thought about, and I haven't talked to Melissa in maybe 2 years or so. Melissa was a friend that I met probably when I was in middle school. I was in her quince, and I used to be really embarrassed about um, how loud my laugh was and how loud my gestures were, because I speak with my hands, I speak with my body. And Melissa used to laugh incredibly loud and never cared who was around. She used to take out her iPad, not her iPad, her iPod. There we go. She used to take out her iPod or her cell phone and just like play music out loud on the bus and public transit. Gave no fucks about who listened, and she was the first person that modeled, I think, both triumph and glory. She was triumphant in the fact that nobody said anything, and she was glorious in the fact that I was like, I want to be like you when I grow up, even though we're the same age.
That also, the way you've described Melissa, it also sounds like somebody who is very free. like just embodies that free spirit, that not caring, right? Like if people are bothered or have feelings about the music on public transit, but just really just living in their freedom. That's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna call her this week and be like, girl, where you been? Okay, and if anybody wants to drop it in the comments, please do so, because we would love to hear it. Okay, so maybe they'll come in a little bit, but on the time being, I'm wondering if we should move to the big 15-minute exercise.
Let's do it.
Okay, so these are the instructions. You have 2 prompts. You can pick one, or you can combine them in whatever way you want. So write a letter to your younger self outlining the triumphs in your adult life. So what are you proud of right now? What have you done? Maybe you learned how to ride a bike after a decade of not knowing. Just anything. Maybe you have a good relationship to a family member you didn't have a good relationship with growing up. So whatever the triumphs are, just take time to really think about your life. Or write a letter to your younger self with instructions of how to celebrate. Pick yourself at an age, maybe you were 9 or you were 15 or at 26 or 30. Pick an age and give yourself instructions of how you wish you could have celebrated. So maybe think of a moment you did not celebrate and go back and talk to your younger self. And I'm going to put a timer for 15 minutes, and maybe I should do 10. What do you think, Ariana?
Either one is cool with me. Whatever feels good to you, Alan.
Let's do 10 so that we can have 10 minutes to come back and talk through.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put a timer right now, as before, and I will also put music as before.
Okay, so I am about to pause the music. Okay, perfect. Whew. How are folks doing?
Were you writing too?
I was.
How was that for you?
It was interesting. I wrote a letter to myself when I was in middle school, and I hadn't really thought about my experience in middle school, but I used to play soccer, and my mom, all our games were always on the same day and the same time, and my mom worked a double shift on Saturdays, so she never saw a single game, and I played for 4 years. Um, so I wrote my younger self a letter of how to celebrate, even if mom couldn't be there, because I always felt sad.
Yeah, I know that feeling too. My mom missed a lot of my choir performances because she had to work late also. So I know that feeling you're talking about.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Leslie says, I'm new to writing, but this was a fun exercise. Oh, Leslie, do you want to maybe drop in 1 or 2 lines from what you wrote if you feel comfortable? And maybe while Leslie is maybe sending something, yeah, Ariana, it's hard to understand that as a child. Like, well, I think I knew my mom had to work, but I was always like, but can you just take one off one day?
Yeah, it's different when you're a child and you don't quite understand everything that's at play. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oof. That's why we have to write to our younger selves, because maybe some of us have some clarity now.
Yeah, and I think it's also okay to hold that disappointment, that hope that became disappointment with an understanding of why things ended up being the way they did.
That's real.
Mm.
Oh, and Leslie says, I'm too shy, but maybe next time. Yeah, absolutely. There's always a next time. Ariana and I are going to lead, I think, 5 more workshops through the summer, so you can catch us at any moment. Yeah, what came out for you, Ariana?
I was thinking about, I think I had mentioned to you that I generally struggle with how to celebrate in the first place, even moments that I feel like I should be celebrating, particularly because in the last like 5 years or so, I've lived in places where I don't know very many people and I don't have very many friends. Um, and also right now thinking about how do you celebrate in the middle of a pandemic when you should not be, having people over or going out to do the things you might normally do to celebrate. What are things? How do you celebrate at home? So I think those were some of the things that came up for me. I don't know if there's time to share more than that.
No, I think you're right. So it's like, how do we open up possibility? Just in the same way as in your first writing, you wrote about, do you find peace or do you make it, right? So how do you make celebration also? I love that. And then, oh, Leslie replied. Let's see. I wrote about entering college though, and it was a hard time for me. So I wrote to myself about not being so hard on myself and be willing to meet new people and do new things. Thank you for sharing that, Leslie. Ariana, do you remember entering college?
Yeah, that was I was struggling the whole time. I feel like, yeah, I think especially the first year too, because I lived on campus too. It was my first time being around so many white people, all at once. It was really overwhelming, actually. Yeah, it was a struggle for me.
I totally hear that. Same here. I moved to this like tiny state, and once I was there, I was like, oh no. It took me a while to like find other people of color there. Um, I feel like I can maybe count all of them. At least the
Yeah,
ones that, yeah, the ones they graduated with. But yeah, so this kind of almost concludes our writing workshop. But oh, let's see. Oh, do you want to read it, Ariana?
sure. So person named a bunch of tiny deer on YouTube shared this line from their piece. It says, "Revel in your grass-stained knees and stuff your pockets with mud and laughter. Forget shame. Refuse to learn its meanings and manifestations, and remember the holiness hiding in your teeth."
Ooh.
I love that. Stuff your pockets with mud and laughter. I like that it's kind of messy too, that
Oh, I think I may have lost that last part that you said. There's a little glitch.
yeah, I was just saying that the like joy can be messy too, that it can be a lot of things. It can, like getting your hands dirty, it can look a lot of different ways.
Right, and I think that sometimes when we think about celebration or triumph, we just want to like be like, oh yeah, an amazing thing that had nothing went wrong, right? But often, in order for things to actually happen, something has to go some type of way at some point. And then Leslie says, I love that line, forget shame. Hmm. Like betray shame, right? Like forget it. Sometimes we're raised by internalizing shame or like feeling like shame is a part of life. And shame doesn't have to be a part of life. Um, like messiness can be a part of life, right? Because the world is messy. Um, but why does shame have to? How can we forget shame? That's an amazing prompt. How do you forget shame? Or how are you committed to forgetting shame? Or what will you do to commit to unlearn shame? I highly encourage you to, if you have the time, to take on that prompt and think about your commitments to unlearn the shame that you identified at the beginning, for how many years you bowed your head, right? Um, so yeah, I just want to remind you again of the two people that we read, and I want to like encourage you to get their work. So Love Letter to Self by Giselle Buchanan, and Nostalgia and Borders by Sonia G. Nyansaka. Oh, and we have some folk from Instagram as well. Laura Lali says, celebrating my college graduation after parents' deportation. And it was savor this triumph in your way. Maybe it doesn't have to be a hot graduation ceremony. Maybe it can be a celebratory hike, froyo, a cry of glory at the top of a hill. Savor this triumph. I hope that, Laura, that you're still savoring that triumph, and that you don't forget the textures of that moment, uh, because family separation is catastrophic, and we shouldn't tolerate it. And also, there's still other things that were happening at that time, because time didn't stop for you or your family, right? So how do we continue to honor um, the time that we're still moving in and experiencing? So thank you for those instructions of how to move in the midst of the family separation.
I think we're approaching time, Alan, so I just want to check in with you and see if there's anything you want to add before we hop off. I know I wanted to talk about our Instagram for a minute, but I just want to check in with you first if there are other workshop things before we go.
I would say if you jumped in late to this workshop, it'll actually be archived, so you can go back to YouTube and search for it. And I'm sure that it'll also be on Tia Chucha's Facebook page. Just go on their Facebook page and search for their media files, and you'll see this video. It will also, most likely, if it's on Instagram Live, it'll probably stay up for the rest of the day. Maybe it will get saved as Instagram TV. So just know that this is not the last of this workshop, and we do have workshops every Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So just to add to that, that workshop series that Alan is talking about, that we co-facilitate every Sunday right here on YouTube Live, you can find all the information for that on our Instagram page. So if you just type in Write With Us Live on Instagram, you'll find all of the information, all of the flyers. We are running free open access workshops every Sunday through the end of July. So there are 5 more. Alana is also the lead facilitator of our upcoming workshop this Sunday, and then the following week we'll switch off and I will facilitate the following one. We also, if you wrote a piece today during the workshop that you didn't get to share a line from, or that you would like for us to see, we on our Instagram page, Write With Us Live, We love to share writing that people have created in our workshops so that everyone else can see it and we can kind of have that communal workshop experience and love on each other a little bit. So if you would like for us to share the writing that that you wrote today, we would love to see it. Just send us a DM on Instagram at Write With Us Live, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Other than that, thank you so much for writing with us, for attending the Tiachucha Celebrating Words Festival, and definitely check out their other programming this week.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good rest of your evening, night, celebration.
All right, bye.